classification on offer.
With that large group of coming in yesterday at 47 seconds, there's a number of riders in there that, yeah, like you say, could get that third position in the GC. And it's in everyone's interest, like I said, apart from the little Trek rider and the Groupama rider, it's in everyone's interest more or less to continue rolling through and continue chasing down Kenny Elissonde, although perhaps they're thinking first and second on GC is done. So in fact, they're just sitting back and they're going to gamble and try and take that third place within a sprint. There will be 10, 6 and 4 bonus seconds. Stora's going to take the 10, Elissonde's going to take the 6, 4 bonus seconds on the line for that group if it remains together. But surely not everyone within that group fancies their chances within a sprint finish.
2 minutes, we're now being told that group is behind. A group of 13, now with one rider who was trying to put some injection of pace at the front from Intermarché Circus Wanty. Kenny Elissonde still has 42 seconds on that group, 43 seconds on that larger group behind. He wants to try and secure himself onto the podium of the overall classification and try and take second on the stage here. But Stora, this is a superb performance to take things on so early with 26 kilometers to go. Nobody was able to react, although perhaps they should have been expecting this, that he could have gone early after yesterday's performance.
Yeah, I'm sure that the DSs this morning took a look at that profile and saw that was the last opportunity really for the out-and-out climbers to distance perhaps some of the strong men on this stage, and that's exactly where Michael Stora went. But it's one thing knowing when someone's going to attack approximately, it's a completely different thing trying to go with it, especially with the power that Michael Stora has shown. And looking ahead to what's left this season, it bodes really well for Michael Stora in terms of this level of racing. He's surely one of the strongest guys in the climbing kind of vicinity, this level of racing. It'd be interesting to see what else he can do come the end of this season. Clearly the form has built really nicely after Tour de Suisse and come into this. So this last racing day before this race was the 18th of June, 17th in the general classification at Tour de Suisse. So nothing too much to kind of write home about, but a very strong ride nonetheless. And yeah, just showing that form has really built since then coming into this race.
You and I spoke yesterday, Ian, about how this can always be a bit of a transition period in the season for riders wanting to go to training camps, have a rest after the first part of the season before they build to that second point. And it seems as though Michael Stora is on supreme form. 3.5 kilometers to go. The time gap to Elissonde, 1 minute and 30 seconds. The chasers, their gap continues to grow at 2 minutes and 17. And it's been a display of dominance from Michael Stora, the 26-year-old from Groupama FDJ. Elissonde shows no signs of stopping here. There's still no cohesion from that chasing group behind. He tracks the road and tracks the narrowest line through this climb. Only now do we start to see the shoulders rock and roll. Stora gets onto one of these plateaus, Ian. The road will start to kick up again before it plateaus, and that final little drag to the finish line into Lelex as we go through 3 kilometers to go.
Looks very comfortable on any gradient that's been thrown at him today, up or down or draggy, whereas Elissonde just, yeah, doesn't look quite as comfortable on these lesser gradients. He looked pretty good on the steep gradients of our final categorized climb, but looks to be struggling ever so slightly as the gradient lessens. It becomes more about watts rather than watts per kilo. And the slightly larger statured rider Stora, although still very low in weight, low 60 kilos in weight. Just looks a little bit stronger on these kind of 1-2% gradients. That huge raging tailwind obviously helping with the speed that he's able to carry over these final kilometres.
He's welcomed into the Jura Mountains, up to the station at the top of this climb. It's got one of the longest and steepest ski slopes in the entire Jura Massif in Lelex. It's known as the highest ski resort in this region at 1,680 meters. Destination Lelex for Michael Storer, and still with this chaser, Kenny Elissonde, as the gap still continues to open. This is a display of dominance from Storer at the time gap 1 minute and 40. For Storer, he's going to take a dominant victory all the way up to Lelex here, and with that, the overall general classification barring any incidents in that run-in. Ian, this has been some ride.
It has to bounce back, literally, from that finish yesterday, and to just simply assert his dominance on this stage. Groupama FDJ really took it to the other teams after sitting behind EF Education Easy Post for probably the first 3/4 of this stage. When they finally hit the front, they really made the difference, and each rider knew exactly what their job was: to go as hard as possible for as long as possible, to make it as hard as possible for every other rider within this race. I think they saw yesterday that they had the strongest rider within this race. So once you know that, you just need to know that you want to make this race as hard as possible so the strongest come to the fore, and that's exactly what we've seen today. And Michael Storer has finished this one off brilliantly.
He goes through the 1 kilometre to go marker, through the Flamme Rouge. He's onto this plateau before it starts to rise, and with 500 metres to go, he sets off the speed at 57 kilometres per hour as he heads for Lelex. 2 years ago, this was the location of his first professional victory. He won stage 3 of the Tour de l'Ain, and with that he took the overall victory, the overall general classification. He comes out of the saddle. It's been a display of dominance, strength, and since setting out his stall with 26 kilometres to go, he was destined to win the stage, and he points to the sky with absolute joy. Michael Storer, after the disappointment of yesterday, he takes the stage up to Lelex with a big beaming smile. That was a display of dominance